was a normal morning at the car dealership. Sunlight was streaming through the large glass windows, reflecting off the shiny new cars that lined the showroom floor. The smell of polished metal and new leather filled the air. Employees were going about their usual routines. Salespeople were straightening brochures, checking emails, and greeting clients with polite smiles. The manager, a man who had been working at this dealership for years, moved between the office and the showroom floor, keeping an eye on everything. He prided himself on maintaining order and professionalism. He liked to make sure that every client was treated well, but he also had zero tolerance for anyone causing trouble. As he walked through the showroom, he noticed a man walking in. The man was wearing a crisp suit that looked expensive, but his expression was impatient. He glanced around sharply, tapping his foot as he moved. The manager instinctively felt that something was off about this customer. The salespeople had greeted him already, trying to be polite, but the man was not responding in the usual way. He was speaking loudly, asking questions in a demanding tone, and clearly frustrated about something. The manager approached him calmly, maintaining his professional demeanor. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" he asked, keeping his voice firm but polite. The man turned sharply to face him, his expression tightening. "I've been waiting too long. I need to see the car I came here for immediately," he said, almost snapping the words. His voice carried an edge, and the manager could tell he was used to getting his way. The manager tried to calm the situation. "I understand, sir. We want to make sure every client gets the best service. Let me check with the salesperson to see where we are." But the man was already raising his voice, interrupting the manager. "I don't have time for checking. I want it now. This is ridiculous. Do you even run this place properly?" Other clients and employees nearby started to notice the tension. The salesperson who had been assigned to the man looked uneasy, trying to explain politely that every customer was being helped in the order they arrived. The man waved his hand dismissively, clearly unconcerned with the explanation. The manager took a deep breath. He had dealt with many difficult clients before, but there was a line between being assertive and being disrespectful. This man had crossed that line. He had been rude to the staff and caused unnecessary tension in the showroom. The manager knew he needed to handle this carefully to avoid escalation. "Sir, I understand your frustration," the manager said, keeping his tone calm and measured. "But our team is working hard to assist everyone fairly. I need you to follow our guidelines and wait your turn. If you are unwilling to do that, I will have to ask you to leave the showroom." He kept his eyes steady on the man, showing that he was serious and would not back down. The man's face turned red with anger. He took a step forward, leaning slightly as if trying to intimidate the manager. "You can't be serious. You don't know who I am. I've been coming here for years and no one treats me this way." His voice was loud enough that nearby clients turned to watch, sensing the confrontation. The manager stood his ground. "I don't need to know who you are to expect respect and proper behavior in my dealership. Everyone must follow the rules. I'm asking you one more time to calm down and cooperate, or I will have to ask you to leave." For a moment, the man looked shocked that the manager wasn't intimidated. He seemed to weigh his options, his eyes darting around the showroom as if searching for backup. The employees watched anxiously, fearing that the situation could escalate further. Then the man laughed sharply, almost mockingly. "Fine, if that's how it's going to be, I'll leave. But don't think this is over." He turned on his heel and stormed out of the showroom, slamming the door behind him. The sudden noise made a few clients flinch, but the manager remained calm. He took a deep breath, straightened his suit, and turned to reassure the staff. "Everyone, let's get back to work. Remember, we do our best for each client, but we also have to protect ourselves and maintain order," he said, trying to ease the tension that had built up in the past few minutes. The staff nodded, some still shaking their heads in disbelief at the intensity of the encounter. After the man left, the manager returned to his office to make some calls. He knew that incidents like this could happen at any busy dealership, but it was still draining to deal with someone so confrontational. As he sat down at his desk, he thought about the importance of staying professional, no matter the provocation. He also thought about the customer and how unusual it was for someone to act so aggressively without apparent reason. Meanwhile, the man who had been kicked out was walking down the street, adjusting his tie and checking his watch. He seemed composed now, but there was a glint in his eyes that suggested he was plotting his next move. He didn't reveal his identity to anyone, blending in as a regular passerby, but internally he was making mental notes. Back in the showroom, life slowly returned to normal. Other clients who had witnessed the confrontation resumed browsing the cars, and the sales staff returned to their duties. The manager walked around, ensuring that no one else was feeling uneasy. He also made a mental note to review the dealership's customer service policies with the team, emphasizing the importance of staying calm and professional under pressure. By midday, the incident had already become a topic of quiet conversation among the staff. Some were sympathetic to the manager, praising him for handling the situation well. Others were curious about who the man had been and why he had been so aggressive. Despite the rumors, the manager didn't let it distract him from his work. He focused on meeting with clients, checking inventory, and preparing for the afternoon schedule. As the day progressed, the manager couldn't shake a feeling of unease. There was something about the man that felt different from the usual difficult clients. He couldn't put his finger on it, but he felt that the encounter wasn't over. Still, he reminded himself that he had done the right thing. He had followed the rules, protected his staff, and maintained professionalism, and that was all he could do. By the time the dealership closed for the day, the manager felt a mix of relief and curiosity. He made a few final rounds of the showroom, ensuring everything was in order and that the staff had completed their tasks. The lights were dimmed, and the shiny cars reflected the setting sun, creating a calm atmosphere that contrasted sharply with the chaos of the morning. He finally returned to his office, sat down, and opened his notebook to jot down some notes for the next day. He reminded himself to stay alert and prepared for any surprises, but he also allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. He had stood firm, acted with integrity, and maintained control of a difficult situation. It was a small victory, but a meaningful one in his day-to-day life. Little did he know the man he had just asked to leave was not an ordinary client. The man had connections, resources, and plans that would soon turn the manager's world upside down. But for now, the manager remained unaware, thinking that the day's most challenging moment was behind him. The dealership was quiet. The staff had left for the evening, and he finally allowed himself to relax, completely unaware of the twist that fate had in store for him. The story of that single confrontation would soon become the turning point in his career. But at that moment, it was just another day at the dealership, another lesson in patience, professionalism, and unexpected encounters. The next morning, the dealership opened as usual. Sunlight filled the showroom, reflecting off the polished cars, creating a bright and welcoming atmosphere. Employees arrived early, preparing for another busy day. The manager walked through the showroom, greeting his staff and checking on clients. He still felt a little unsettled from the previous day's confrontation. He couldn't shake the feeling that the man who had left in anger might somehow come back. Still, he tried to focus on the tasks at hand, reminding himself to remain professional. By mid-morning, the usual flow of clients was interrupted by a small group of people entering the office area. They were dressed formally, carrying folders and tablets, and looked very serious. The staff exchanged curious glances. They weren't sure if these were clients or corporate representatives, but their confident demeanor suggested something important was happening. The manager, sensing the seriousness of the situation, approached them to see what they wanted. One of the men in the group stepped forward and introduced himself as the corporate liaison for the dealership chain. He asked to speak to the manager privately in the office. The manager followed, trying to mask his curiosity and concern. Once inside, the group settled in and the atmosphere felt formal, almost tense. The liaison spoke first, explaining that the dealership had recently changed ownership. The manager listened carefully, nodding. But he didn't immediately connect this with the man from yesterday. Then, to the manager's shock, the liaison said that the new owner wanted to meet him personally. He gestured toward a tall, well-dressed man sitting at the head of the table. The manager froze. He looked at the man and recognized him immediately. It was the same person who had stormed out of the dealership the day before. He was now calm, composed, and smiling slightly. His presence filled the room, commanding attention without raising his voice. The manager felt a wave of disbelief. The man who had been rude, impatient, and confrontational yesterday was now the one holding the keys to the entire dealership. He struggled to find words, his mind racing to process the situation. I didn't realize. he stammered, trying to maintain composure. The new owner laughed softly, a sound that was surprisingly warm. "I know what you're thinking," he said. "Don't worry. I'm not here to punish you. I just wanted to meet you in person." The manager swallowed hard, still feeling embarrassed about the previous day. He realized that his first impression had been far from ideal. The new owner explained that he had recently purchased the dealership and wanted to understand how the staff operated on a day-to-day basis. He admitted that he had intentionally tested the manager's character by visiting the showroom as a client. The manager listened, feeling a mix of relief and humiliation. He had been following the rules, protecting his staff, and maintaining professionalism, but now he realized that his strict approach had been tested in an unexpected way. "I appreciate your dedication to the team," the new owner said. "It's not easy to stand firm and ensure that everyone is treated fairly, even when a client is difficult. That tells me a lot about your leadership and integrity." The manager felt a sense of pride, even though he was still slightly embarrassed. The recognition from someone in authority, especially the owner, meant a great deal. The corporate liaison then outlined some upcoming changes and opportunities at the dealership. The new owner emphasized that he valued employees who demonstrated strong character and the ability to handle challenging situations. The manager took notes, realizing that his professional approach had earned him respect, even in a moment that had felt humiliating the day before. After the meeting, the manager returned to the showroom, feeling a mixture of relief and curiosity. The staff noticed a change in his demeanor. He was smiling more, walking with confidence, but there was a new energy in his step. He gathered the team for a brief meeting, sharing some general updates without revealing all the details about the new owner's visit. The employees were curious but respected his discretion. The day continued with a sense of excitement in the air. Clients visited the showroom, and the staff worked diligently to provide excellent service. The manager was attentive, checking on each interaction and offering guidance when necessary. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that his professionalism had not gone unnoticed. The previous day's confrontation now seemed like a strange twist of fate, a test that he had unknowingly passed. By afternoon, the new owner decided to walk through the showroom, interacting with staff and clients directly. The manager observed from a distance, watching how effortlessly the owner connected with people. He noticed that the owner was approachable, calm, and respectful, qualities that inspired the manager and staff alike. The manager realized that he could learn a lot from this person, someone who had the power to change the dealership, but chose to lead by example. Throughout the day, the manager reflected on the lesson he had learned. He understood that first impressions were important, but character and integrity mattered even more. His initial embarrassment had turned into an opportunity to grow, to prove his worth, and to strengthen his leadership skills. He felt grateful for the experience, even though it had been uncomfortable. As the evening approached, the manager prepared to leave, reflecting on the day's events. He walked through the showroom one last time, checking that everything was in order. The cars gleamed under the showroom lights, and the staff were finishing up their tasks, ready to head home. The manager felt a sense of satisfaction and anticipation, knowing that the future held new opportunities for him and the team. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a series of events that would further test his abilities and reveal the true impact of that single confrontation. The new owner's presence had already started to change the dynamic of the dealership, and the manager's life was about to take a turn he had never imagined. The day ended with a feeling of calm, but beneath the surface, excitement and uncertainty were quietly building, setting the stage for the next chapter in this extraordinary story. The following morning, the manager arrived at the dealership early as usual. The sun was just rising, casting a warm glow over the showroom. He walked through the rows of gleaming cars, taking in the sight with a mix of pride and nervous anticipation. After yesterday's revelations about the new owner, he felt a strange combination of excitement and apprehension. He had passed an unexpected test, but he still wasn't sure what the future held. Staff were arriving, greeting him with smiles and quiet curiosity. Some of them had caught glimpses of the owner during his brief visit yesterday, and were whispering quietly about how impressive he seemed. The manager, sensing their curiosity, decided to start the day by checking in with the team, ensuring that everyone was focused and ready. He reminded them about professionalism and attention to client needs, knowing that each day presented new opportunities to demonstrate excellence. As the day progressed, the dealership began to fill with clients. The manager moved through the showroom, observing interactions between salespeople and visitors. Everything seemed normal at first, but there was a tension in the air, a sense that something unusual might happen. His mind kept drifting back to the new owner and the strange circumstances of the previous day. He knew that first impressions mattered, but he also realized that consistency in character and professionalism was what truly defined him. Around mid-morning, the receptionist informed the manager that the owner had arrived unexpectedly. The manager's heart skipped a beat. He hurried to the office area, where he found the owner casually reviewing some documents. The owner looked up, smiled, and gestured for the manager to come closer. There was no judgment in his eyes, only a calm, confident presence that put the manager slightly at ease. "I wanted to take a closer look at the dealership operations today," the owner said. "I also wanted to see how you manage day-to-day challenges." The manager nodded, trying to remain composed, though he could feel a rush of nervous energy. He realized that this visit was another subtle test, and he was determined to demonstrate the qualities that had impressed the owner previously. They walked together through the showroom. The manager pointed out key areas, highlighting staff performance, inventory management, and customer service strategies. The owner listened attentively, asking questions occasionally, but mostly observing quietly. His presence was commanding yet unobtrusive. The staff noticed and seemed energized, as if they were suddenly motivated to perform at their best in the presence of someone who genuinely cared about their work. During the walkthrough, the manager encountered a difficult client, someone who was indecisive and asked endless questions. In the past, he might have felt frustrated, but today he approached the situation with calm patience. He guided the client through options, explaining details clearly and respectfully. The owner observed silently, a small smile forming on his face. The client left satisfied, unaware of the intense scrutiny that had been happening just a few feet away. After the showroom walkthrough, they returned to the office. The owner asked the manager to sit down and have a candid conversation. He began by praising the manager's professionalism and integrity. "What you demonstrated yesterday and today shows that you can handle pressure without compromising your principles," he said. The manager felt a mixture of relief and pride. It was one thing to do his job well, but receiving acknowledgement from the owner meant a great deal. The owner then shared his philosophy about leadership. He explained that the dealership's success depended not just on sales figures, but on the character and reliability of its people. He spoke about fairness, consistency, and the importance of earning respect through actions rather than words. The manager listened intently, realizing that he was learning valuable lessons that went far beyond daily operations. After the meeting, the owner suggested an informal lunch with the manager and a few senior staff members. The manager was surprised but agreed, knowing that this was another opportunity to build rapport and demonstrate his capabilities. At lunch, the conversation was light but meaningful. The owner shared stories from his own career, emphasizing moments when patience, integrity, and decisiveness had made the difference between success and failure. The manager absorbed every word, understanding that he was being mentored in subtle, personal ways. Returning to the showroom in the afternoon, the manager felt a renewed sense of purpose. The owner had left, but the impact of the visit lingered. The staff were motivated, inspired by the visible approval of the new owner. The manager made an effort to acknowledge their contributions, offering guidance and support, and emphasizing that everyone played a critical role in maintaining the dealership's reputation. During the day, the manager also reflected privately on the events that had unfolded. He realized that life often presented unexpected challenges and opportunities in ways that were difficult to predict. The encounter with the owner, initially embarrassing and stressful, had become a turning point, teaching him the importance of composure, confidence, and adherence to principles. As the day drew to a close, the manager conducted a final check of the showroom. The cars gleamed under the soft lighting, and the staff were finishing their tasks with care and diligence. The manager felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that he had navigated a challenging situation successfully. He also felt anticipation for the future, aware that the new owner's presence was likely to bring more lessons, more tests, and more opportunities for growth. Walking out of the dealership into the evening air, the manager allowed himself a moment of reflection. He thought about the delicate balance between authority and respect, the subtle ways in which character was revealed under pressure, and the impact of even brief encounters on long-term relationships. He felt a quiet determination to continue growing, learning, and leading with integrity. Little did he know, the days ahead would present new challenges that would test his resolve even further. The relationship with the new owner, built on trust, observation, and subtle mentorship, was only beginning. The manager's understanding of leadership, professionalism, and personal growth was about to be deepened in ways he had never imagined, setting the stage for remarkable changes in both his career and personal perspective. The following week, the dealership felt different. There was an energy in the air that hadn't been there before. The staff noticed it, and the manager noticed it too. The new owner had left a lasting impression, not just with his presence, but with the subtle way he encouraged growth, professionalism, and respect. The manager felt a sense of responsibility, knowing that his behavior and decisions were being noticed more closely than ever before. Early in the morning, the manager arrived at the dealership, reviewing the day's schedule. He had received a call from the owner the day before, suggesting a special project for him. It was an opportunity to lead the launch of a new car model, a high-profile event that would bring attention from local media, clients, and corporate executives. The manager was both excited and nervous. This was the chance to show his leadership skills on a bigger stage. He spent the first part of the day planning, organizing teams, assigning tasks, and reviewing logistics. Every detail mattered, from the placement of cars in the showroom to the flow of guests during the event. He thought through each element carefully. He wanted to make sure that everything went smoothly, reflecting the dealership's high standards and the trust the owner had placed in him. As he moved through the showroom, the manager noticed the staff working diligently, inspired by the responsibility given to him. He made an effort to check on each person personally, asking if they needed guidance or support. He offered encouragement and practical advice, making sure everyone felt involved in the project. The staff responded positively, motivated by the manager's leadership and by the sense that this event could be a turning point for the dealership. By midday, invitations had been sent to local clients and media representatives. The manager coordinated with the marketing team to ensure that the social media coverage, press releases, and promotional materials were ready. He also arranged for refreshments, seating, and safety protocols. The entire process required attention to detail, patience, and calm problem-solving skills. Whenever a minor issue arose, the manager handled it quietly and efficiently, ensuring that it did not escalate or disturb the team's focus. In the afternoon, the new owner visited the dealership again. This time he observed from a distance, watching how the manager coordinated the preparations. The manager noticed his presence but did not let it distract him. He moved confidently, issuing instructions, assisting staff, and maintaining a professional demeanor. The owner occasionally nodded, seemingly impressed by the manager's composure and effectiveness. As the launch event began, the dealership was bustling with excitement. Clients arrived, greeted by smiling staff, and were guided to the display area where the new car model gleamed under the showroom lights. The media representatives set up cameras and notepads ready to capture the moment. The manager moved among the guests, answering questions, explaining features of the new car, and ensuring that everyone felt welcomed and attended to. Throughout the event, the manager demonstrated remarkable leadership. He anticipated challenges before they arose, communicated clearly, and stayed calm under pressure. A minor technical issue with one of the display cars threatened to disrupt the flow, but the manager quickly reassigned staff and adjusted the schedule without drawing attention to the problem. The guests remained unaware, enjoying the experience as planned. The new owner observed all of this, clearly satisfied with the manager's performance. He approached him quietly and whispered, "You've handled this wonderfully. This shows me you are capable of leading not just a team, but the entire dealership." The manager felt a mix of pride and humility, knowing that his efforts had been recognized by someone whose opinion mattered deeply. After the event concluded successfully, the manager gathered the staff to celebrate their collective achievement. He praised each individual for their contributions, highlighting teamwork, dedication, and professionalism. The staff were energized and proud, feeling a sense of accomplishment that went beyond mere recognition. The manager realized that effective leadership was not about personal glory, but about empowering others and creating an environment where everyone could excel. Later, the manager reflected privately on the lessons he had learned. He thought about how the initial confrontation with the new owner had seemed like a difficult and embarrassing moment, but had actually led to new opportunities. It had tested his patience, composure, and integrity. By maintaining professionalism, he had earned respect and trust, opening the door to responsibilities that could shape his career in meaningful ways. The day ended with the showroom quiet again, the new car model displayed prominently, and the staff leaving with smiles and a renewed sense of purpose. The manager stayed behind for a few minutes, walking slowly through the rows of cars, reflecting on how far he had come in just a few days. He realized that success often came through unexpected challenges, and that maintaining character under pressure was the key to lasting achievement. As he prepared to leave, the manager felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had not only managed a high-pressure event successfully, but had also strengthened his relationship with the new owner. He understood that trust was earned through consistent actions, and he was determined to continue leading with integrity, patience, and professionalism. Little did he know, this event was only the beginning of a series of challenges and opportunities that would test his abilities even further. The respect and trust he had earned from the owner had created a foundation for future growth, mentorship, and career advancement. The manager left the dealership that evening with a sense of calm confidence, ready to face whatever the future might bring, knowing that he had proven his capabilities in a meaningful and lasting way. The following morning, the dealership felt alive with a renewed sense of purpose. Staff moved with energy and confidence, motivated by the successes of the past week. The manager arrived early as always, walking through the showroom and checking on every detail. He felt proud of how the dealership had performed, but he also understood that maintaining this momentum required continuous effort, focus, and leadership. As he reviewed the day's schedule, the manager received a message from the new owner requesting a brief meeting in his office. The manager's heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and curiosity. He entered the office to find the owner waiting with a warm smile. "I wanted to speak with you personally," the owner said, gesturing for him to sit. "I've been observing your work closely, and I am truly impressed. Your leadership, professionalism, and dedication have made a significant impact here." The manager felt a wave of humility mixed with pride. He listened intently as the owner continued. "I want to offer you a new opportunity," he said. "We have plans to expand our operations, and I believe you have the skills and character to take on a greater leadership role. You will oversee not just this dealership but multiple locations, helping to maintain high standards and guide teams across the region." The manager was stunned. The thought of taking on such responsibility was both thrilling and intimidating. He realized that the challenges he had faced recently, from the initial confrontation to the successful launch event, had prepared him for this moment. The owner's trust in his abilities was a testament to his hard work, integrity, and composure. Over the next few hours, the manager and the owner discussed plans for expansion, staffing, and strategies to ensure consistency across all locations. The manager asked questions, offered suggestions, and learned from the owner's experience. He realized that leadership was not just about managing tasks, but about mentoring, inspiring, and empowering others. The conversation was both enlightening and motivating, giving him a clearer vision of the future. Throughout the day, the manager's interactions with staff reflected his growing confidence and understanding. He offered guidance, encouragement, and support, ensuring that every team member felt valued and empowered. Employees responded positively, inspired by the manager's calm demeanor, clear communication, and thoughtful leadership. The dealership operated smoothly, clients were satisfied, and the atmosphere was one of cooperation and mutual respect. During a quiet moment in the afternoon, the manager reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. He thought about the confrontation with the new owner, which had seemed like a stressful and embarrassing incident at the time. He realized that it had been a turning point, a moment that tested his patience, integrity, and professionalism. By handling it correctly, he had earned the respect and trust of someone with great influence over his career. As the evening approached, the manager prepared to leave the dealership. But he was stopped by a call from a client who wanted a private tour of a high-end vehicle. The manager agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to practice the principles he had learned. He guided the client through the showroom, explaining features with clarity and patience, addressing questions thoughtfully, and demonstrating attention to detail. The client left impressed, reinforcing the manager's belief in the importance of professionalism and personal engagement. Returning to the office, the manager reviewed the day's activities and planned for the following week. He knew that the expansion project would bring new challenges, but he felt prepared. The lessons he had learned about composure under pressure, effective communication, and leadership were invaluable. He also recognized the importance of humility, patience, and the willingness to learn from others, including the new owner whose mentorship had been instrumental. That evening, as the manager walked to his car, he reflected on the remarkable journey of the past week. The confrontation, the lessons learned, the successful launch event, and the owner's recognition had all contributed to his growth. He understood that success was not just about achieving goals but about character, integrity, and the ability to inspire and support others. In the days and weeks that followed, the manager took on his new responsibilities with dedication and enthusiasm. He visited multiple dealership locations, trained staff, implemented new processes, and ensured that high standards were maintained. His leadership style was firm but fair, combining professionalism with empathy. Employees respected him, clients appreciated the consistent service, and the owner continued to provide guidance and support. The manager also made a point to mentor his team, sharing the lessons he had learned from his experiences. He emphasized the importance of patience, composure, and integrity, encouraging employees to remain calm under pressure and to treat every client and colleague with respect. He understood that leadership was not about authority alone, but about fostering an environment where everyone could succeed. As the months passed, the dealership and its sister locations thrived. Sales increased, client satisfaction improved, and staff morale remained high. The manager felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that his efforts had contributed to both personal and organizational growth. He often thought back to the initial confrontation with the new owner, realizing how a seemingly difficult moment had led to an extraordinary opportunity. One evening, after a long day of work, the manager sat in his office reflecting on the journey. He smiled, thinking about how challenges could lead to growth, how integrity and composure could earn respect, and how mentorship and guidance could shape the future. The experience had transformed him, teaching him not just about leadership and professionalism, but also about resilience, humility, and the power of character. In the end, the manager understood that life often presented unexpected challenges and opportunities. By staying true to his principles, maintaining patience under pressure, and demonstrating integrity, he had turned a potentially embarrassing situation into a remarkable turning point in his career. He had earned the trust and respect of the new owner, inspired his staff, and created a legacy of leadership and professionalism. As he left the dealership that night, the manager felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The journey had been challenging, surprising, and rewarding. He knew that more opportunities and challenges would come, but he was ready. The lessons learned from the confrontation, the mentorship, and the experiences that followed had prepared him to lead with confidence, integrity, and compassion. The story of that week and the lessons it carried would remain a defining moment in his life and career, shaping him into the leader he had always aspired to be.